This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Available on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and at hero.co. That's HERO.co. Delicious, ultra-low net carb Hero Bread buns and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories. Order today at hero.co and use the code AH10 to get 10% off your first purchase. That's AH10 at hero.co. HERO.co. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
Once again, folk, time for our favorite segment of the week with the founder of the largest online progressive community, dailycoast.com, the founder, the host, I should say, and founder of The Brief, the ever popular podcast. Be sure to download it. But today we're going to focus on the other arm of his work, and that's Civics, the polling entity, which is really doing a great job and providing some information that we otherwise wouldn't get. And it is objective and it is accessible. Civics with a Q.com. Marcos Belitsis here with us. How are you, buddy?
Doing great, Mark. Looks like you're enjoying the weather. Some balmy February weather on your corner of the country.
Yeah, I've been doing a little traveling. It's not as cold. Even here in New York, it's not as cold. So I don't have on sleeves today. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
For a change. I hope it stays like that. How is it out your way?
Oh, it's the way what you're seeing now is our usual winter. That's what we get. So at Bay Area, winter's about 55 degrees in a day, 45 degrees at night.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. So you've been teasing this out, man. You've got this new civics poll, and we can't wait to hear about it. First of all, when did you conduct the poll?
So it was it's about 2 weeks ago.
So
we released it last week.
So too early to have asked if people believe all these balloons that have been shot down are UFOs.
Oh yeah.
But I think we already know the answer to that. I think that might be Look, that might be the one thing Democrats and Republicans you poll might have agreed on. Yes, this is not China. This is UFO.
Yeah, I don't think we need to ask that question. That's awesome.
Yeah. But this is some pretty significant information you found. In terms of, there's not a lot of surprises there are a couple of surprises where Democrats and Republicans are split. But why don't you walk us through it a bit? So obviously, you did ask the question of whether or not Trump should run for president again.
So it was. We asked whether Joe Biden and Donald Trump should run for president again. Not much of a surprise. Most people said no to both. Now, this was done before the State of the Union address. I suspect that Biden's numbers might be a little different now amongst Democrats, given just his powerhouse performance during that State of the Union address. But the general sentiment is, even with Donald Trump, only half of Republicans want him to run again. So it's clear he doesn't have that mojo that he did in 2016 or 2020, because in 2016, to be honest, it was probably about the same. Like half the people didn't really want him to run. He won the primary because Republican primary states are winner take all. So he was winning all the delegates by winning 35% of the vote in a split field. And I think that's what Donald Trump is really banking on this time around as well. He wants as many candidates in because that way he can win with 35-40% of the votes. So I think that's what he's going for. But there's not a lot of appetite for him. In 2020, you would have had 99% of Republicans saying he should run again. And his shtick is definitely wearing thin.
I want to lift up, these really are some fascinating numbers, though. Only 51% of Republicans say, yes, Trump should run. 56% of independents say no.
Yeah.
53% of whites say no. 68% of Hispanics, 82% of African Americans, no surprise. 48% of non-college educated whites say no. 64% of college educated whites say no.
Yeah, if you look at overall, only 27% of Americans want him to run for re-election. Run again.
Suburban, 59% say no. Rural voters, we know who that is. Rural voters even say no. I mean, across the board. It's in the, if you're 35 to 49, 50 to 64, 65 plus, over 50% in each category says no. 60% of Southerners, 61% of Southerners, 65% of Midwesterners say no. Oh my God. I mean, this is, you watch Fox, and you did ask a question whether people watch Fox News.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the only group that was pretty heavily pro Donald Trump. So 57% of Fox News, people who frequently watch Fox News, so the hardcore addicts, 57% of them say, yes, Donald Trump should run again. Only 17% said no. So that's the one group. It just shows the bubble that Fox News has created. It's a totally alternate reality that has no bearing whatsoever on real America.
And for those of you who like to do the false equivalency, you also ask who watches MSNBC. And MSNBC might need to see your numbers because it ain't doing too well. I might need to send these along to a couple people I know. Everybody ain't watching y'all like you think you are. But that says a lot because not as many people are watching. 8% frequently, 12% occasionally, 36% don't watch, 27% of people. And you wonder who's watching Fox because you got all these rural and older voters saying they don't want Trump to run. Then are they watching Fox? Who's really watching that?
The dead enders, the MAGA nation, the Marjorie Taylor Greene types of the Republican Party. They're the ones that are watching. So it's really the fringe, the far right fringe. And again, they created that bubble, and that's why these are the same people that still think that Republicans should be talking about abortion, about banning contraception, even though they just lost a midterm election that they should have won in a wave because of issues like abortion, because they're in that Fox News bubble, and so they have that alternate reality, and it totally skews perception. So apparently, Mark, I don't watch Fox News. I see clips here and there, but I don't watch it. But apparently, if you watch Fox News, Donald Trump must still be the greatest thing since sliced bread because, like we said, like 70-some% think that he should run. 57% of Fox News viewers think that he should run. Only 17% think that Donald Trump should not run for re-election. That is completely at odds with literally every other demographic that we polled.
No, that's some significant numbers. But again, when I look at these rural voters and non-college educated whites, that the ones, I don't get it. Don't seem to be interested in him running either. So Joe Biden, though, you asked about him as well. Democrats are kind of split on that. It looks as if they are 38% yes, 38% no on Joe Biden in terms of him running. And again, this is before the State of the Union where, he performed. It was probably one of the more interesting State of the Unions in history, as Marcos and I talked about. Here's what's interesting, though. Amongst white voters, 67% say Joe Biden should not run. 40% of African Americans say yes versus 38% who say no. 56% of Hispanic voters say no. In non-college, 70% say no. College, 60% say no. So pretty much across the board, it's kind of neck and neck in terms of people who feel that Joe Biden should not run, even amongst urban voters, which many might consider his base. It's across age groups. I guess a lot of people are sick of both of these guys and want something different. I take it.
I mean, there's always a general bias against politicians in general. I mean, there's they're politicians. I don't think anybody goes into politics to be beloved, but
Right.
There's also this perception pushed by Republicans, but also sort of fed by a lot of internal critics in the Democratic Party that Joe Biden is old. And I mean, I've argued that he's old, so I'm not gonna try to be hypocritical here. But there's a difference between, the argument saying, I wanted fresh blood in the party, and then saying he's too old to be president, he's slow, he's losing it, his mental faculties are going, which has sort of been sort of the subtext. And that subtext really isn't. That's why I think the State of the Union address was so remarkable, is that it showed that not only is he not slowing down in any way, that he's sharper than anybody really gives him credit for being, not to mention all the incredible accomplishments he's had. So it's a different situation. We're seeing in our Joe Biden polling, our straight up approval ratings, that his numbers have gone up amongst Democrats. So that would mean his reelect, these numbers would go up by a little bit. But the other factor here is that if you're a liberal, you have your favorite, right? It's Kamala Harris, it's Pete Buttigieg, it's Gretchen Whitmer, whatever, right? Everybody has their favorite. So their idea of Joe Biden not running for re-election, in their mind, is my person is going to run for president and win, right? It's not necessarily a indictment on Joe Biden. It's a wish that their person, Bernie Sanders, right, whoever that person is, that their person would be president instead. I think that's different than we're seeing in the Republican side, which is just general. People are getting tired of Donald Trump. Republicans are getting tired of Donald Trump. Everybody's tired of Donald Trump. And so they're looking at Ron DeSantis as an alternative, mostly, maybe some of the others to a much lesser extent. So it's a little bit different than I don't like Joe. Republicans are saying, like, I don't like Donald Trump anymore. Or he hurts us, because he did. They've lost 3 election cycles in a row because of Donald Trump. Joe Biden doesn't hurt us. He's just not the ideal. So it's a little different.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And just want to point out too where independents fall in. 56% of independents say that Donald Trump should not have won. And again, that's pretty much across the board in all categories. Independents, and we say they're important, even though Marcos and I have our own analysis of who and what independents really are and are not. But people look at that. 71% of independents say Joe Biden should not run. But I would agree with you. I think that people, want an alternative. I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, I'm sure there's some Republicans who are idealizing some alternative. We don't know who that might be. It's too early to tell. But who wouldn't try to think about somebody else? Because Donald Trump is crazy. And after a while, it's kind of difficult to ignore the crazy. I mean, anybody who's still in denial about that is probably a little touched by an angel themselves. So this is interesting. Okay, you a couple other areas you want to get into. The COVID vaccine.
So what we did is, we went down the list with a bunch of right-wing conspiracy theories, and we wanted to see how many of them had actual traction, and maybe were things that we needed to worry about, and how much of it was just sort of relegated to the right-wing nutosphere. So we asked about COVID. We asked about gas stoves. We asked about Hunter Biden's laptop. We asked about a bunch of those things. And so what we found, generally speaking, is what you would expect, is that conservatives bought into most of these conspiracy theories, especially so if they watch Fox News. So, for example, we asked, some people claim that the coronavirus vaccine never actually worked to slow the spread of the virus. Do you agree or disagree? 67% of Republicans think the vaccine didn't work. I mean, this is so patently absurd that it's just blows me away that anybody would think that, since it's the correlation between vaccine and slowing limiting the damage, the severity of symptoms if somebody does catch the virus, and just the long-term trends. It's just incontrovertible that the vaccine was incredibly important in allowing us to get back to normal. 67% of Republicans think that the vaccine never worked. Only 14% of Republicans think the vaccine worked. Only 14%. Obviously, 90% of Democrats believe that the vaccine worked. And then independents are split 43-42. And remember, we've talked about independents before. Independent doesn't mean they're in the middle. Independent means you're like a Tea Party Republican who thinks that the Republicans are too moderate, or maybe a Bernie Sanders supporter that thinks that the Democrats are too conservative, right? It just means that you're not. Most of them, the vast majority of them, will actually vote with a party in the end, the same party. So a MAGA Tea Party is going to vote for the Republicans. The Bernie Sanders Socialist Democrats going to vote for the Democrats more often than not. We asked about Dr. Anthony Fauci, and again, 87% of Republicans think that he lied about the origins of COVID-19. They have their conspiracies that, obviously that China biolab and things like that. And of course, if you're looking at 91% of Fox News viewers think that he lied. We asked whether Fauci unnecessarily harmed American schools and businesses by overhyping the threat of COVID-19. 87% of Republicans thought that COVID was overhyped by Biden and Fauci, but 51% of independents do as well. So overall, nationally, it's 46 agree, 48% disagree. So this is one of those issues that, it's driven by the right-wing machine that the COVID-19 threat was overhyped, but it actually splits the country like almost quite literally in middle. And there's not a lot of undecideds on that issue. Like, people have really strong opinions that whether, yes, COVID-19 was overhyped, no, it was not. And as you would imagine, it falls along partisan lines. 92% of Fox News viewers think that COVID-19 was overhyped. 91% of MSNBC viewers think it was not. If you just want to really get a good sense of alternate universes, there you have.
It also. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It also kind of splits down racially too. The coronavirus vaccine never actually worked. Agree or disagree? 43% of whites agree, while only 11% of African Americans and 27% of Hispanics. Now, in that particular category, did the coronavirus vaccine never work? Whites are split 43 to 43. When we look at did Dr. Fauci lie to Congress, 54% of whites agree that he lied to Congress. Blacks and Hispanics are not in that majority at all. Did Dr. Fauci unnecessarily harm American schools and businesses? Do you agree? 54% of whites agree, 41% disagree. So it splits along racial lines too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess the Black and Latino communities believe in science in a way that the white community does not. I mean, it's
but you know what else it probably is too, honestly. Many Black and Latino citizens had the type of jobs, I think, that probably required them to be vaccinated, whether they wanted to or not. Mm-hmm. And so you get vaccinated, and realize, oh, I lived, I'm still here.
They didn't turn into magnets.
Right. So, and then, people of color have all of the risks, the health risks that probably required it also. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that played into it as well.
Yeah. So we also asked whether President Biden and the Justice Department are unfairly targeting conservative protesters, families, and small businesses. So this is obviously something that Republicans are really hell-bent on. They just had hearings in the House on the DOJ politicizing, criminalizing being conservative, and there's claims that even the January 6 protesters, mobsters, insurrectionists were somehow being unfairly treated for their actions. And so, of course, as you can imagine, 87% of Republicans agree that the Justice Department has been unfairly targeting them. Only 4% of Democrats. But if you look at the overall country, 44% agree, 47% disagree. So it's another one of those issues that is utter horseshit. It's completely a made up thing, yet the country's pretty split down the middle, because enough of those those MAGA independents, Tea Party independents, actually also agree that there is politicization of the Justice Department. If you're a Fox News viewer, I'm sure it's like 100. Yep, there it is. 90%. 90% of Fox News, frequent Fox News viewers believe that they are being unfairly targeted, because that's obviously one of those big themes for Tucker Carlson and their merry cast of ideologues. We asked,
and that's interesting. Now that we have the news that the DOJ is not going to prosecute Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
So clearly, when many people looking at that story, many people feel he should be prosecuted. If the Justice Department isn't doing that, then how can anyone say that people are being unfairly targeted?
No, absolutely. I mean, if they were being unfairly targeted, there was clearly enough there for them to pursue. The Justice Department looked at the evidence, decided that they didn't have enough to guarantee a conviction, and decided to pass. That's literally the opposite of politicizing. In fact, it might even be totally politicized, but not in the way they're claiming. I mean, it may be the Justice Department thinking, if this was a private citizen, maybe we go after him, but it's a 50-50 case. It's just not worth the blowback for a case that isn't a 100% slam dunk. So that's totally possible. Yeah.
Well, actually, you and I have some friends I've already spoken to. I won't name them right now, who think it's politicization not to prosecute.
Yeah.
And feel that, Merrick is just don't want to do anything. But but that's another issue. But you're right. Even if it is politicized that way, it disproves the notion that they are especially
being targeted, because it'd be easy to target him. If that was the goal of the Justice Department, he'd be an easy target.
Oh yeah.
Nobody likes him anyway, right? It's like you just go after him. The facts of the story are salacious. We have receipts already, public receipts, and so it's very clear that he was, engaging with his partner in Florida and having sex with underage women. I mean, it's there. We had the Venmo receipt because he was too stupid to hide it. So we have those where he was paying these women, these girls. They weren't even women at that, but the girls. So we asked if Congress should investigate Hunter Biden's laptop. Believe it or not, nationally, 51% say yes, 41% say no. This is one of those places where I guess America wants to see Hunter Biden's dick pictures, because that's really what this has been about the whole time. But 95% of Republicans say yes. 56% of independents say yes, which is interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that. There's this whole weird theory that Republicans have been pushing, and they just pushed it this past week or this week? I've lost track. Maybe it was either last week or earlier this week. They had hearings on Twitter, and they were making this argument that by suppressing the story on Hunter Biden's laptop, that it was electoral interference, and that's why Donald Trump lost. I mean, they're so freaking stupid. And Chip Roy was pushing this theory. It's a couple of the other ridiculous Republicans were pushing this stupid theory that by Twitter not allowing the publishing of I'm not kidding. This is not even exaggeration. Hunter Biden's dick pictures. It was Hunter Biden's penis. That's what they asked to pull from Twitter. That's what was pulled. That by suppressing Hunter Biden's penis pictures, that Donald Trump lost. Now, of course, in the hearings, it also came out that Donald Trump asked for certain items to be removed from Twitter, and Twitter complied, right? So this wasn't particularly controversial, but if you're Elon Musk and you have an agenda, and you're the Republicans and you have an agenda, you're going to scream about the suppression that cost the election, as though I mean, Republicans actually had a poll by a Republican pollster, by I forget which one, but not a good pollster, clearly, that said that 18% of Democrats would have changed their vote for Donald Trump had they known about Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, it's just so patently absurd that for anybody to take that seriously implies either just ill intent, because it's so freaking stupid that no regular, sane, smart person could say it, or they're just literally that. They're just dumb, beyond dumb. And it's been one of those age-old questions with a lot of these Republicans. Are they really stupid, or do they know that they're lying, or are they stupid enough to believe what they're saying? And this is one of those places. So expect to see more about Hunter Biden's laptop. I know Hunter Biden is actually suing a bunch of Republicans over that laptop, for having that laptop. So it'll be a nice little sideshow that almost nobody cares about, unless you're watching Fox News, because frequent Fox News viewers, 95%, are obsessed with Hunter Biden's
I love the scandal. The scandal.
pictures.
And the sexual nature of it. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the picture. So it's voyeurism.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. And you know what? Here's the difference, Mark. If there was evidence in that laptop, I mean, because the FBI has it, if there's evidence in that laptop of criminal behavior, we're like, okay, fine, prosecute Hunter Biden. Like, there's none of this partisan rallying around the flag and that conservatives do. I mean, they think that this would somehow implicate Joe Biden. And there's been a bunch of, pretty ridiculous conspiracy theories that sort of bubble up every once in a while because there's this, fever swamp. I step in every once in a while, but I try to generally avoid it. And so one of them was that Hunter Biden was paying Joe Biden, his dad, President Biden, was paying him $50,000 a month for a room in his house. And supposedly this was like a money laundering scheme, right? Where he was getting his ill gains from crooked Ukraine and crooked China. And then he was funneling it to Joe Biden. And it turns out like it was office space in Washington, D.C. Like it was just literally like what you pay for, a K Street office in Washington, D.C. But it doesn't matter, right? The truth doesn't matter. They are obsessed with thinking that there's some sort of collusion between Hunter Biden and Joe Biden to let China and corrupt Ukraine funnel money into Joe Biden, because that's what Joe Biden needs right now. He needs money, apparently. I mean, they think they're all like Donald Trump, right? Like Joe Biden needs money. Joe Biden's freaking president. That's all he's ever wanted in his entire life, was to be president. He finally got president. He's good. I can guarantee Joe Biden is good. He doesn't need the money. He's good. Whether his son is a little shady or not, that's a whole different story. And it's got nothing to do with Joe Biden. And you know what? If he's done anything wrong, okay, great. Prosecute him. But that's not what they're trying to do. They're not actually trying to get to Hunter Biden's lawlessness. They're trying to create this perception, like Hillary Clinton's emails, that there is some broader conspiracy that ties in Joe Biden. And they think that's going to actually influence people into changing their support for Joe Biden. I mean, it's not going to work. It worked with Hillary Clinton for reasons that sexism, inherent, decades of the right-wing machine working her over, her refusal to push back aggressively, all these things sort of like led into it. And it actually had an impact against Hillary Clinton. But this Hunter Biden laptop thing is ridiculous. I mean, we should keep an eye on it, make sure. But the idea that it could actually harm Joe Biden at this point is I think at this point is patently absurd. And I actually wonder, just in an alternate universe, if Hillary Clinton's emails thing was a thing today in the age of social media and Twitter, if it would have landed differently. And I actually think it would, because that was completely driven by the traditional media. And I think today they'd be laughed out of the room if they try to peddle that bullshit. Bull.
Right. Yeah, I don't see how you bring one man down with pictures of another man's penis.
I mean, they're obsessed. They're obsessed with freaking.
I know. We say it's something unto itself.
Yeah.
I say it's something unto itself that they're obsessed with it. I'm not interested in seeing Hunter Biden's penis at all.
I don't want to see anybody's penis, to be honest.
Right. That's true. I don't want to see nobody's penis. I mean, I just be looking for penises. So no.
Right.
You want to see that? Okay, he got his penis. And people know what dick pics are. People sin and do stuff with dick pics. I mean, we're gonna police everybody's dick pics. I don't even want to know about that. I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect anything other than the people who have the misfortune of receiving
right
the dick pics. Gentlemen, first of all, don't send dick pics. Nobody likes them.
Nobody.
Women don't like them. It doesn't work for anybody. Stop it. And most of us really can't afford to reveal the extent of our frontal nudity anyway, especially unfortunately, men are judged by penis size, and we judge ourselves and become a psychological thing. Don't do it. Just keep it to yourself. That's just some advice for everybody. So, and while people want to see that, and I don't. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Okay, so yeah, just cut it out. Okay. So here's another one. You asked about Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, we asked if it was a good thing that he bought Twitter or not, and of course, let me see. Let me scroll up to it. I mean, obviously, conservatives are really into it. Here we go. 79% of Republicans think it's a good thing. 3% of Democrats think it's a good thing. If you care about a Twitter that actually works, then it's not a good thing, because things, been, it's been rickety for a couple of weeks now. The thing's like constantly going down. And I mean, we even heard back on, when was it? Like on Tuesday, there was news that Elon Musk lost his shit because Joe Biden's tweets about the Super Bowl were getting more engagement than his own. So he called in an all-night. He flew into San Francisco, called his engineers in the middle of the night to code a boost so that everybody got to see Elon Musk's tweets and get more engagement, because that's what's important for a billionaire. Mark, him and Donald Trump, they're the same person. They are the same person. It's kind of amazing.
And they're both men who probably, once again, would not want anyone to see pictures of their penis. See, again, this is sometimes, y'all, this is projection. This is a manifestation of some other issues. All right. So,
there is one question in here, Mark, that I think you might agree that this is surprisingly good news.
Good,
right?
okay.
Because
Yes.
I did not expect this result. We all know that Ron DeSantis is banning books that mention race, anything mentioning racism. He's gone after the AP curriculum on African American studies. So we asked, as you may have heard, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently banned advanced placement African American studies courses from being taught in Florida high schools. Do you support or oppose this ban? So obviously 70% of Republicans support it. Although that means that about a third of Republicans don't, which that in itself seems kind of noteworthy. But overall, just all respondents, only 35% of Americans support Ron DeSantis in banning that curriculum. 51% oppose it. This is actually kind of surprising. I would have thought it'd be one of those questions that'd be more 50-50. And amongst the independents, only about a third of independents support this as well. It's a big loser, Mark. And this is DeSantis. I mean, at some point we'll be talking more about the Republican primary, but what is clear already, that it's becoming a contest over who can be more cruel, Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump. And so DeSantis has been really proud about, let's get Roberto Clemente's book about his childhood off the shelves. He may be really proud about stuff like that. It's not playing nationally the way you would think it would play. And even amongst frequent Fox News viewers, 75%, I mean, a quarter of respondents really, only 4% oppose it, but a quarter of them are like, oh, this seems like a dumb idea, I don't care, or why are we talking about this? Which is surprising, given that on a lot of those other conspiracy theories, it's 90% for Fox News viewers and above. So they've been hammering about the evils of CRT and African American studies, and yet here we're seeing that it's actually not an issue that is resonating very well. So, Mark, that was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect that.
For those who are frequent Fox watchers, only if I'm reading this right, only 35. But I'm going to read this right. So wait a minute now. For frequent Fox News watchers,
75%.
75%. But and occasionally who watches 50. So those are the only ones that really, again, are tilting that scale even a little bit. But otherwise, you're right. For everybody else, this is not something that people think is an intelligent thing to do. 35% of the American public supports it. Now, watch this. He's staking his claim on this. He thinks this is his ticket to the nomination, and you've helped and informed his campaign tremendously with this poll. This is not working. 65% of Hispanics oppose. Roberto Clemente books ban his autobiography. Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron. Unfortunately, Roberto Clemente Jr. supports it, which is unfortunate. He says he supports it because his father's descriptions of racism are too graphic, and children don't need to know about that.
Oh,
what?
Well,
But your father said it for a reason. It does happen. And again, folks,
no.
this goes back to my thing about Roberto Clemente identified as Black. Many people who don't consider themselves Black, who speak Spanish, who are from Latin American countries, are darker than I am. And we've got to get beyond this thing where people are educated to not identify with Blackness. A lot of people don't know Roberto Clemente invited Dr. King to his farm in Puerto Rico. He brought Dr. King to Puerto Rico before he died. Roberto Clemente was a labor organizer. He would have supported this recent the players' pushback against the lockout. It wasn't a strike. Roberto Clemente organized Major League Baseball to halt baseball games when Dr. King was assassinated. That's who he was. So now your poll says most Hispanics do not support what DeSantis is doing. That's good. So Roberto Jr. needs to, get with that program. This thing of there being some type of separation, and DeSantis doesn't see white supremacists don't see a separation. Some of y'all do. DeSantis didn't say, let's keep Roberto Clemente and only ban Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson. He banned all three because they're all the same to him. Because Roberto was talking about racism, Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson talking about their experiences with racism. So it's sickening. Jackie Robinson's first spring training for the Dodgers was when they were in Florida, Sanford, Florida. Old Dodger Town in Florida is where it is because in Sanford, Florida, where Trayvon Martin was killed, Jackie and his wife were there in the 40s for spring training. And the Dodgers got death threats for having him there. So they packed up from Sanford and moved out of Sanford, Florida. But you don't want that history taught, DeSantis. And you think you're going to be the president. But Marcus, let me show you something. You said something about they're going to see who can be the most cruel. But then that's going to boil down to is who can be more cruel to each other in terms of candidates. And we know Donald Trump is going to be unforgivingly cruel to DeSantis because he knows how to play the dozens and he does. And DeSantis is going to lose. He's just going to lose. It's just not going to work. But yeah, but it is good to see that a number of people you polled, 51% are saying that they oppose the ban. And amongst whites, it's split. 42% support it, 42% oppose it. That says a lot to me too, Mark. 46%, Marcos, 46% of independents oppose it. So yes, these are good numbers.
Yeah, I'm not happy if I'm DeSantis and I'm seeing that's the kind of reception that this is getting. And he was even asked about the Roberto Clemente book a couple of days ago, and he fumbled for a response, and then he tried to blame it on the teachers union. Yeah, it was a political decision to remove it from the shelves, and it was the union. And of course it was a political decision. It was his political policy that is scaring school boards into removing material that they think might be against the law. So, it might work for the Republican primary as they try to out-cruel each other, but really it's not a winner nationally.
Yeah, no, it's not. Absolutely not. So Marcos, is will this poll be published for people to see? It will be available.
Yeah, it's actually at civics.com.
Okay.
And we've written at Daily Kos, we've been writing about different parts of it as because there's so much good material on there. So we've been writing about but it's on if you go to civics.com, it's under the news and reports section.
Wonderful. Folks, check it out. This is some incredible information, and of course, civics. That's what sets civics. Marcos has been wearing these 3 hats, but today we also get to see just how important civics is. CivicswithaQ.com, everyone. Thanks, Marcos.
Thank you so very much. Catch you next week.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. As always, perform an act of kindness on behalf of an elder or young person. Write a letter to a sister or brother who just so happens to find her or himself incarcerated. Offer libations to the ancestors upon whose sturdy shoulders we all now stand. And above all, give thanks to the God of your understanding by whatever name you call her and him. All God asks of us is that we give each other love. Thanks for giving MIP love. And please remember to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.